Happy Monday, December 15th, 2025. We've got some really cool stuff to talk about today in comic book news. We've got Jason Momoa and maybe his best casting yet as Lobo. We have a new crossover between Marvel and DC. Todd McFarlane returns to Spider-Man, and more. Let's just jump right into it. All right, let's start off with talking about Jason Momoa as Lobo. This is an amazing casting. He has like the kind of crazy personality like Lobo, and he looks like Lobo just in general. I mean, I don't know if that's an insult because Lobo looks kind of crazy, but he has the hair, he's got like the, the muscles and everything. It's a perfect casting, I think. And we'll have to see when we actually see him play the role, but I just think that he's going to embody this character perfectly. This character is absolutely crazy. If you don't know about the history of Lobo, he's basically the last Zarnian, I think is how you say his race. And he basically unalives everybody else in his race by creating this like creature that takes out his whole race, and he does it like just for fun. And his race is basically immortal. I think there's also some kind of thing where like he's banned from heaven and hell. So there's like no way for him to die. And he's also been shown to be crazy powerful. It depends on the writer, but he goes toe-to-toe with Superman. So this is a crazy character to see in live action. I mean, even look at this image right here. He has a grenade on his necklace, and he's always smoking a cigar. I mean, it's perfect, right? Lobo even has his own way of cussing in the comics where he'll say like fragging and biztatch and, other stuff that are just suggestive words that you're supposed to basically understand what he's saying, because obviously they're not going to put curse words in comics, but even down to the way he speaks is kind of insane. This also comes at the same time as we just had the Lobo versus Wonder Woman 1v1 come out, which was an interesting issue. I'll give my thoughts on that really quick. It wasn't as good as the Superman versus Captain Atom issue, in my opinion. I think it was a little weak in some of the ways that they actually won their fights. It does have some it has some funny parts, because of the craziness of this like breaking the fourth wall and reality warping that the Heart of Apocalypse is doing, and the writer was really playing with that. But I don't want to spoil it. You should go read Lobo and Wonder Woman. I just, in my opinion, it wasn't as good as Captain Atom and Superman. Anyway, back to Jason Momoa as Lobo. The only problem with Lobo for Jason Momoa that I would say is that Lobo isn't around super often in DC Comics, so I don't know if they're going to try to work him into more stories, or if he's just going to be a character that shows up every once in a while, or part of maybe some, the big events, that they do, if they do, events like Infinity War and Endgame at the end of a phase or something like that, and Lobo shows up. But yeah, I don't see Lobo being like a mainstay in the new DC universe, which is a shame because I do think the character of Lobo is really cool, and I love the casting of Jason Momoa. But yeah, I just don't see him as a character that's going to be around like a ton. This version of Lobo looks very comics accurate. Now, I know this is kind of a blurry image that we have here because it's just pulled from, one still from the trailer where we barely got to see him in the Supergirl trailer. I think the character of Lobo is kind of a fan favorite character that people are going to love to finally see accurately done in live action. So all I can say is that I'm super hyped to see Jason Momoa in this role, and I have, really high hopes for Supergirl. All right, we have another crossover between Marvel and DC, Superman and Spider-Man. This is going to be awesome. What two better characters to pair up from these two universes? Now, I will say this, they have done this before. There's this Superman versus the Amazing Spider-Man issue. This was an oversized comic, like this one right here. As you can see, this is huge. This is Superman versus Muhammad Ali. But yeah, that's what this was. And I think it's really cool that we're getting a version 2 here. I can't wait to see what the story is. Now, let's look at some of the covers that we have here. Jorge Jimenez, of course, doing a great job. I don't know all of the artists that are here. Leave me a comment and let me know which cover you're most anticipating and what the artist is, if you're interested in any of these covers. It looks like we have like Superboy Prime, and of course I'm not sure these characters are going to be in the comic, but these are just like versions of Spider-Man and Superman. So we have Superboy Prime and Black Suit, Venom Spider-Man. Jim Lee cover, obviously. I mean, it's Jim Lee. It's freaking beautiful, of course. So yeah, that's a great cover. This goes in another direction, but hey, whatever you like, sure. This one looks pretty cool, definitely. We got like the Russian version of it. And what was this? What was the Spider-Man Hulk character's name? He has a funny name. I forget what it's called though. But yeah, this is hilarious. Love this. Absolutely love this. Beautiful cover here. We've got another Venom, and then this is like the resurrected Superman, right? After he's unalived. This one's really interesting. I love the webbing on Lex Luthor's face. I think that's hilarious with Spider-Man like punching him right there, and then Superman, and then the Green Goblin. I do think Superman bodies the Green Goblin. I don't think he'd have any trouble with him at all. So I just had to say that, but I don't think these covers are any indication of what's actually going to be in the comics. But yeah, this one's really cool. Again, I just love the fact that Lex Luthor's face is all webbed up and Spider-Man's punching him. Well, here we have another interesting one. We've got Power Girl and Black Cat, if this is the kind of cover you like. So this is going to be written by Mark Waid, Tom King, Matt Fraction, Sean Murphy, Gail Simone, Christopher Priest, Greg Rucka, and Jeff Lemire. What? Are you kidding me? That is an amazing lineup. And then we have art by Jorge Jimenez, Jim Lee, Steve Leiber, Sean Murphy, Beline Ortega, Daniel Sampere, Nicola Scott, and Rafa Sandoval. Yeah, this is absolutely like ridiculous, this lineup of creators. So the official solicit synopsis for Superman Spider-Man #1 from DC and Marvel Comics reads, when journalists Clark Kent and Peter Parker find themselves chasing the same story, the conspiracy they uncover could change the world, especially if Brainiac and Dr. Octopus have anything to say about it. And we bet they do. Good thing our intrepid newshounds are secretly Superman and Spider-Man. To bring this clash of reporters turned heroes to life, Mark Waid and Jorge Jimenez join forces to headline DC's Superman Spider-Man #1 with an unforgettable lead story. So I think there's going to be multiple stories in here, which is why we have such a long lineup of writers and artists. But yeah, this is going to be awesome. It's the Boy Scout and the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Definitely pick this up. And yeah, I'm really excited to read this when it comes out. All right, I got to watch this real quick. Lanterns, Hal Jordan and John Stewart. I love John Stewart. Such a cool Green Lantern. He's an architect. He leaves the ring, sends the car off the cliff. This looks awesome. That was just a short little, teaser to the series, but this is going to be epic. Green Lantern has the best lore in all of DC Comics, in my opinion. Jeff Johns wrote the definitive Green Lantern run and brought together all the different Lantern Corps and everything that's out there. And if they do a very comics accurate Green Lantern, it's going to be so amazing. And first of all, just the fact that we have Hal Jordan and John Stewart right here is so great, and great castings for each one of these characters. Let's look at the elevator pitch here for Lanterns. What if DC made a season of the hit show True Detective, only it starred Hal Jordan, Kyle Chandler, and John Stewart, Aaron Pierre, of the Green Lantern Corps? Okay, that sounds great. And that's what they are. They're space cops, essentially, right? So I think doing something along the lines of them kind of like working a case as Green Lanterns is a cool idea. And even though Green Lanterns are largely a galactic police force with missions that take them to the farthest reaches of our universe, this show, as conceived by Damon Lindelof, Chris Mundy, and Tom King, will be an Earth-set mystery that takes place in America's heartland, as is evidenced by the footage shown above. And by the way, if you don't know anything about John Stewart as Green Lantern, he is such a cool Green Lantern. I remember him as the Green Lantern, I believe in like the Justice League Unlimited or something like that cartoon as a kid. It was something like that. And he's an architect, which plays into his constructs. They're very complex, and I think because every Green Lantern has a different kind of style of constructs. Hal Jordan is kind of classic, John Stewart is very intricate and detailed, Kyle Rayner is very creative and artistic, and so on from there, because it's all to do with their personality and how they can envision these things that they're going to construct in their mind. So I've always loved John Stewart as Green Lantern, and I'm so happy we're going to get like all the Green Lanterns in this DC universe. We've got Hal Jordan, John Stewart, Guy Gardner. All we need is a Kyle Rayner reveal, and we'll really be set. But it will probably be a little later because it looks like John Stewart's, more getting his start as Green Lantern here. So, but we'll see. I love Green Lantern. Most days I'm wearing a Green Lantern ring or a yellow or red or, one of the many color lantern rings. I just like wearing them because I'm a huge nerd. So I have to say I'm super excited for this Green Lantern show, and let me know in the comments down below if you are, highly anticipating this show like I am. Okay, you see the headline, Todd McFarlane returning to Spider-Man. That's pretty awesome. That issue is probably going to sell like crazy. Make sure that you tell your local comic book store to put one in your bag or save one for you or whatever you need to do, because I think it's going to be highly collectible to have a Todd McFarlane Spider-Man cover again. But not only Spider-Man, Marvel team up with Invincible. Now, I will say this is a reprint, okay? It's a reprint, but I believe with some new covers. And this is cool, and I haven't read this yet, I'll be honest. So I think this is a great opportunity for me to pick this up and read it, because I love Invincible. I'm on the last collected edition of my Invincible run right now, and I'm going to finish reading it soon. And it's been one of the best comics I've ever read, honestly. So, and most people would probably agree with that. So this I'm sure is really, really cool. And then here you go. You got Todd McFarlane's cover. I mean, look at that. That's absolutely amazing. It's so Todd McFarlane with the, spaghetti or whatever they call them, webs, and the pose. He did the pose. He did the thing. And even the detail on Invincible's like face and everything. It's just it's awesome. Can you imagine an entire like Invincible Spider-Man run, like just where all the art inside was drawn by Todd McFarlane? That would be like, that's asking too much, I think. Some other really cool covers here as well, so don't let me just put all focus on Todd McFarlane. We have Ryan Ottley, who is one of my favorite modern comic book artists, doing this cover right here, and this is absolutely beautiful. So that's another great one to pick up, I think. And then let's just take a look at some of the other covers. Let me know which covers you're going to be picking up in the comments down below. This one's really cool with Doc Ock. I like how Invincible's like ripping one of his arms in half. Looks like we have covers A through G. And let me just read this little bit from the article. Reprinted just in time for Skybound's celebration of Invincible Month in March 2026, Marvel Team Up 14 joins an exciting slate of comic books, including the return of Invincible Universe Battle Beast, reprints of the most demanded issues, and all new collections. Time to the debut of Season 4 of the hit animated series on Prime Video. Now, on top of all that, we have a video game set in the universe of Invincible coming out as well. I believe this is also coming out in 2026, so that is going to be really interesting to see. It's going to be called Invincible Verse or Invincible Verses. I've never been a huge fan of like the fighting games, but I'm not knocking them at all. I know a lot of people are a big fan of like Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat and stuff. I just personally, I haven't played them, all that much to become a big fan of them. But I mean, this looks cool. Maybe this will be something that kind of draws me into something like that. So let me know if you're anticipating the game. Let me know if you're going to pick up any of these really cool covers for this reprint of Marvel Team Up number 14, especially the Todd McFarlane one. And yeah, just let me know your thoughts in general in the comments down below. Okay, next, let's look at the comic books that are coming out this week. We've got Absolute Flash. Now, I've heard mixed reviews on this, but I gotta say the covers look really cool. I like how the costume kind of looks. I know it's not the traditional Flash costume, but I still think it looks pretty cool. So I do want to read this. I just haven't gotten to it yet. So let me know your thoughts on the Absolute Flash comics. We've got Nightwing coming out, World's Finest. I've heard this has been good, actually, World's Finest. We've got another DCKO matchup, which is pretty cool. I mentioned earlier in this video, I didn't think that the Wonder Woman Lobo issue was as strong as the Superman Captain Atom issue, but we'll see. I do think the whole breaking the fourth wall and reality warping stuff of this tournament is interesting and funny and really cool and makes for some really dynamic character moments. So we have Cyborg versus Swamp Thing. I'm gonna call this one for Swamp Thing, but let me know who you think is winning this one. I mean, Cyborg is pretty powerful. It depends on, he has different eras of like power because he gets powered up and then, with the mother box, and then he's not as powerful depending on the writer. But yeah, let me know who you think is winning between Cyborg and Swamp Thing. We've got Wonder Woman, and then we've got Zatanna and Harley Quinn. Now, will Harley Quinn have her super speed here because of the ring, or is this just going to be her with a hammer? I don't know, but Jorge Corona does an amazing cover here. I mean, Jorge Corona's been doing great on all of these covers. One of my favorite modern comic book artists. We've got The Avengers, Moon Knight, Superman, the Kryptonite Spectrum. That's definitely interesting. There are many different versions of Kryptonite, as you can see by the colors on his fingers. Lex Luthor does mention something about the resurgence of Kryptonite in DCKO number 2. So I'm not sure what's going on there, but I am reading Superman Unlimited as well. I'm just not 100% caught up, but I'm fighting my way back with all these comics. I'm getting caught up on everything. So Superman Unlimited coming out as well. That's another great pickup with Guy Gardner on the cover. The Mortal Thor, no longer the Immortal Thor, with a beautiful cover by Alex Ross. I'd almost buy these comic books just for the Alex Ross covers because he's that awesome. And of course, this is being written by Al Ewing, who did an amazing job on the Immortal Hulk. This is definitely a good pickup for this week. Amazing Spider-Man continues, and then we have this really cool Black Cat cover, which is another one where it's like, maybe you just pick it up just for the cover. Daredevil, Punisher, Catwoman, King Spawn, and a bunch of other ones coming out, but I think I've already hit on the really big comics coming out this week. So let's take a look at the omnibuses coming out this week as well. Okay, I don't know that much about Baby Teeth or Dragonhead, but I do know that Deadpool and X-Force is a really cool omnibus. I do have it already, but I like these reprints. I think these covers are better than the cover that I have of the old printing of this omnibus. So I think this is a great one to pick up. This is straight 90s goodness. If you're into 90s, if you like the 90s art with all the pouches and the leather and everything else like that, that's what you're going to get in this omnibus. So I definitely think this is a solid pickup if you're looking to pick up a new omnibus this week. All right, that's it for comic book news. If there's anything I missed, please let me know in the comments down below. Also, let me know your general thoughts on the different stories that I talked about. Thank you so much for watching, and please don't forget to like and subscribe.